Hello, you're very welcome to the Irish Independence League of Ireland preview video, joined today by Dan McDonald to look ahead to another big Friday night of games. But Dan, I suppose this Friday is the first time in 3.5 years we're going into Friday night without Damien Duff as Shelbourne manager. After the week that was, it's been a quiet week to say the least.
So we've had our first Monday without Damien Duff now our first Friday, first Thursday without his bulletin notes. I mean, we're at a point obviously that has to stop. But yeah, the shadow still probably looms a little bit. I mean, it's Thursday today, and a lot of managers are doing their sort of pre-match stuff, and people are still getting, anyone who hasn't been asked about it yet has probably been asked to give some kind of reaction to it, because it is such a huge story and one that's gone beyond the borders of the league. So yeah, I mean, it's still the story in a sense, that lingers there, because what happens next for Shells is still a little bit up in the air. I mean, speaking now, they've only confirmed that Joey O'Brien is going to be in charge until Friday. I think the plan is for him to stay in charge beyond that, unless Damien Duff is planning some kind of dramatic return. So there are things there that need to be resolved. And I guess when you were in Waterford on Monday, and I think that was when the news happened on Sunday, there was a sort of a 24-hour response and get to the game in Waterford. And I guess maybe on Tuesday it's the dust settles a little bit. So that still looms there. I mean, we had a great night of football on Monday, and storylines elsewhere and other stuff that we can move towards talking about now, but definitely it still is there. And I mean, Galway Shelbourne is the game that I'm taking in, and I think there is a sense of just need to know what happens next, because those European ties are coming around the corner, and there still is that sort of curiosity as to, I'm sure they had a plan to almost get through the week. What happens next week?
And obviously Shelbourne has said going to Galway there. Just looking at the leaders down hosting Waterford, and I was down in Waterford on Monday night and was impressed by them. There wasn't too much in the game. Shells had a few late chances, but Rovers there, as you said, coming off the back of that. But Bohemians were absolutely brilliant in that Dublin derby on Monday night. Really, really dominant, and obviously Rovers want to get back to winning ways now on Friday.
Yeah, it sort of seems like two teams that need to bounce back. I mean, John Coleman said they were very poor on Monday, Waterford, and his view was it was theft, that they took a point from the game. And he was actually very honest in the interview afterwards that he felt in a lot of games this season, Waterford, since he's arrived, that Waterford had been the better team, and in this one they weren't. So I suppose maybe they're looking for a bit of a reaction. There's absolutely no doubt the Shamrock Rovers are. I mean, they were absolutely battered on Monday, and Stephen Bradley afterwards didn't sugarcoat it in any way. Could have been 4-0 at half time, he said, rather than 2-0. So we'd probably become comfortable with the idea that Rovers are going to steamroll through the league, or certainly maybe not steamroll, but probably they look to be reaching the point where maybe they were in cruise control maybe. And it's possible that they'd hit such a point of cruise control that they sort of entered Monday's game in that cruise control mode and got completely jolted to life, got pressed all over the park. Just all of a sudden they were being asked questions that some teams hadn't asked of them in the previous couple of games, and he made a lot of changes, and that's we talked 6 changes from game to game, 7 changes from game to game. Maybe too many. It's easy to say it in hindsight, but you kind of wonder that there just was something where they a little bit off it. So I mean, Waterford. Yeah, I mean, the last I was at the game when Waterford played Shamrock Rovers down in the RSC, and Waterford were very competitive in the game, and last game of last season in Tala they certainly were competitive too. So Waterford like to be a footballing side, and I think they'll come to Tala and try and play a bit. But I think people would have looked at Monday and think, you do have to attack against Rovers. Attack can be the best form of defence. That leaves you vulnerable to being picked off. But maybe that risk is a risk that some teams will have to take off the back of what Bowes did.
But you mentioned there the cruise control Rovers have been in the last couple of weeks. I was speaking to Stephen Bradley on Thursday morning, and the main line was just sometimes it comes down to sometimes you need a kick up the arse, and they sure got that on Monday night against Bohemians, who will look to pick up another win here against Sligo. I suppose from Sligo's point of view, sitting 9th, they just really need to start getting results really soon if they're to catch up on 8th. But for Bowes, and obviously with those games in hand as well, it's all going in the right direction.
Yeah, I think Sligo Rovers just want to stay ahead of 10th rather than thinking about 8 at the moment. I mean, I think that was a huge win for them on Monday night. It was a dramatic win. Um, but yeah, John Matton sent off. He missed this game. I think he might have missed the previous game against Bows earlier in the season. And definitely the window was obviously opening, but it's not open yet. And Sligo Rovers are bringing in, they've brought in Patrick McLean. They're trying to bring in, I think, experienced defenders was one of their priorities in the window. And then you're going to Bows without one of them. So it is sort of set up for Bows. They've had a big win on Monday. If they are going to be actual challengers this year, it feels like they just have to go and approach this game and sort of ruthlessly win it for people to start believing that.
I think Sligo are in ninth, just sitting 3 or 4 points ahead of Cork, who things just keep going to bad to worse. Like, they're in a terrible run of form at the moment, and they host Pats, who at the end, it's two teams at opposite ends of the table who really need wins, probably for different types of reasons. Pat's obviously in a tricky run of form at the moment as well, and a win would be a massive boost to them, Stephen Kenny's side.
Yeah, I mean, the vibe down in Turner's Cross is the thing to watch from this game, because I mean, there was fan chants or protests, whatever you want to call it, on Monday. This game's live on TV. It's the lowest crowd of the season on Monday. The ticket price stuff still lingers. Pats would like to be at the opposite end of the table to Cork City. They're probably not. They're two teams, and probably, you know, Pats aren't as far off in the distance as they would like to be. They are firmly in mid-table. I think, yeah, if Pats are going to regain any sense of momentum, they're going to have to just go and win that match. I think Cork City, like a couple of teams, have signed another player today from Aston Villa. That would be the Jarnash connection. They've got 3 new players coming in, but they can't come in till July the 1st. So there's a couple of teams in that position where they can see bodies coming, but at the moment they're maybe threadbare. Got some players there who know they're moving on. That can create a bad vibe. Pats have a lot of players on good contracts, you know, good expectations. If they don't go and win here, when are they going to go and get a win?
And just the final game of Friday night, Derry City hosting Drogheda, and Derry obviously having a perfect Friday-Monday period not too long ago, back-to-back 1-0 wins against Shells, and Pats obviously busy in the window as well this week. So I don't know, Drogheda can be hard to play against. Kind of hard to call that one.
Yeah, well, the Drogheda have beaten them this season, and it's they've gone up there and won as well. And I think there was a couple of games recently, even when Derry lost down in Waterford, where you're thinking, yeah, they're turning the corner here, but do they have a little bit of a softish centre? But then, as you mentioned, the weekend just gone, they go to Dublin, keep 2 clean sheets, looked very solid after they scored in both games. So, like, maybe this is actually a good test for them, because, you know, they need to be resolute against the Drogheda side that will ask a lot of questions of you. And we'll have seen how they've scored goals against Derry this season, and how other teams have scored goals against them from set pieces, from dead balls, areas where Drogheda are very efficient. So they had a massive disappointment at the weekend, sorry, on Monday, with the late concession. They've had the European stress. I wouldn't say they're playing terrifically, and probably understandably, off the back of that. Kevin Doherty had an altercation with a fan who was sort of criticising them. They're about to head into this weird unwanted break for a couple of weeks. So, but yeah, you kind of feel Derry City at home. It's just linked with Moses Dyer this week. That's the other thing about the Galway Shells game. It looks like, I mean, he's suspended anyway, but Galway could have lost their top scorer. It's clear that Derry are looking to refresh their squad, but again, for people, it's a bit like the Bows game. There's a sense of thinking, okay, if you're legitimately going to push on from here, then your home game on the Friday against a team that you're a low budget team you're expected to beat is a game you have to go and win.
5 big games to look forward on Friday night. Dan's out west at Damien Duff Park. I'm at Tallaght Stadium on Friday night, and we'll have all the latest League of Ireland reaction with the Irish Independent.